Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Katie, and I want to thank you for joining us virtually. Today's presentation, How to Start a Career in Cybersecurity, is hosted by the online cybersecurity programs at St. Bonaventure University. We're very excited to have a speaker group today with a diverse mix of cybersecurity experience and backgrounds that they'll leverage as they talk about career pathways and their experience in this field. We have a robust discussion planned, so we're going to go ahead and get started right away. Before we jump in, though, I do want to go over a few quick housekeeping items. So you are in broadcast only mode. That means that you can hear us, but we cannot hear you. During this event, please feel free to type in your questions into the question and answer box as you think of them, and we'll be sure to save time for those at the end of the presentation. I also want to note that the presentation dashboard in front of you is very adjustable. So in the media player, where our live feed is displaying, you can drag that window to make us larger. You can also adjust the volume and the size of the slides. And then finally, we are recording this event. So you'll be able to come back in at any time if you want to view this again, or if you'd like to share it with a friend. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at our speakers for today's webinar. Our moderator today is Pooya Gatbi, from the Interim Program Director for the Cybersecurity Programs at St. Bonaventure University. A native of Australia, Pooya has focused his career on security, including software security, cloud security, network security, penetration testing, identity and access management, and most recently, privileged access management, or PAM, most primarily in large banks. In addition to his post with St. Bonaventure, he is also a solutions engineer for CyberArk. And then next up, we have Sheetal, who is a senior technical recruiter at CyberArk Software, a leader in the security space. Sheetal brings more than 14 years of recruiting experience to her role, including seeking high-level roles for the government, universities, and Fortune 500 companies. Prior to recruiting, she worked in sales and marketing with an emphasis in market research. And then also joining us is Professor James Donahue, who teaches in the online cybersecurity programs at St. Bonaventure and is also a special agent for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. In that role, he uses his cybersecurity skills to investigate child exploitation, human trafficking, narcotics, financial and national security investigations, including transnational criminal organizations. And then last but certainly not least, Melvin Thomas, a current graduate student in the online Masters of Cybersecurity program, is with us to share his own experiences transitioning over to the cybersecurity field. Melvin is currently the Director of Service Delivery and Special Projects for Chiron Technology Services Incorporated. He has over 20 years of experience in the field of information technology, including 9 years in cybersecurity. Melvin's technical skills are focused in the areas of programming, threat assessment, and vulnerability analysis. So thank you so much to all of you for being here today. It's really exciting to have so much cybersecurity industry experience in one place and to be able to talk about more about how we can transition careers into this field. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Pooya.
Thank you so much, Katie, and thanks everyone for joining us today. It's really a pleasure to having you all taking time to joining us today and talking about a very interesting topic. You may ask, out of all these topics in the world, why did we choose this particular topic? Starting a career in cybersecurity. So this idea started in one of the courses that I was teaching. So at the end of the course, week 7, I just created an interview simulation because a lot of students were asking about careers, how they can get a job in cybersecurity, or if they are already working in cybersecurity, how they can progress their career in this field. And we had a lot of traction. People loved it. So, and then following that, a lot of students in other courses, they were asking about it. We had students that they were actually successful in their job interviews after that, that practice that we have in that course. But it's not limited only to that. A lot of people, like a lot of colleagues that I have that work in other areas, of IT, mentees, that they work with me, and even friends and family. Everyone is asking about this. And the question is, how can we break into cybersecurity market? Or if we've already started, if I'm a junior, I've got junior position, how can I progress this? And there's a good reason for that. A couple of reasons, actually. So as you know, the world around us, the businesses, they're going through digital transformation, massive digital transformation. What does that mean in terms of cybersecurity? That means now there's a much bigger attack surface. Attackers trying to basically get hold of data, sensitive information, any way they can. What does that mean? That means it translates into a more need for cybersecurity controls, skills, and obviously personnel. And jobs as a sort of byproduct of this, there are much more jobs, and I'm sure Sheetal's going to talk about that. How this market is transforming now, and the jobs are often very stable. Even after this crisis of COVID that hit, and a lot of economy issues that was the consequence of that. But what we saw, the cybersecurity jobs they stayed pretty consistent and pretty stable. That's very attractive for everyone. So everyone loves to have a job that is stable. And the other thing that is very interesting is with all these new technologies being added, with AI, machine learning, with cloud computing, changing the world, the way that we work. That means there are new areas of cybersecurity as well that are being introduced. So it's a massive market. It's growing really fast. And what we're trying to answer today, or at least give you some ideas with a great panel that we have today, is how can you get into this market? Or if you're already working in cybersecurity, how can you progress your career? And how we in Bonaventure, with our Master of Cybersecurity program and our graduate certificate program that we will talk about, can help you to fast track that and achieve those goals much easier and better. All right, so with that, I actually like to ask the first question from our first panel member, Sheetal. So Sheetal, thank you so much, first of all, for joining us in the panel. You've got extensive experience in recruiting, specifically in cybersecurity, and I know that you have worked across different sectors. So first of all, I guess my first question for you is, how do you see the current market of cybersecurity, in comparison to other areas of IT or in general?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to the Bonaventure University for arranging this. I have been doing this for a while, and I have seen very clearly that cybersecurity is an absolutely important market or an industry. It's not going anywhere. It's not like one of those call centers that can get outsourced easily. So it's here to stay and has to be safe, in a safe environment. So they're not going to send it away. It's a growing industry, just like you said. As long as we used to save all our information in paper and things like that. Now it's all in technology, either in our systems or web or cloud or wherever. As long as it's in the technology or it's in some kind of an environment like that, it's prone to attack. People are trying to steal it. All of us have had experience where in some way or the other, you would have been a part of a breach, or your information was stolen. You'll get information or emails regarding that. And that means that information, we need professionals who can save that information, save or protect that data. And that means there are jobs going to keep on happening for cybersecurity professionals. And that's just like you said, gives you security. You're definitely going to have a job. Also, there is, if you see the quick Google search will show you the unemployment rate has been 0% since 2016. And so what does that mean is that if you have a cybersecurity background, you're always going to have a job and you are always going to be secure. You're not going to get it's not going to be a mass layoff and now you don't have something, but you'll immediately find another job. The demand and supply, there's so many jobs out there. They're talking about 3.5 to 4 million jobs and not enough people, which means if you have a background, you're going to get a job. And it also means that whoever is in this industry or in this college or taking a course or doing a certificate program, you're making the wisest investment into your future, not only just a future, but a very secure future in a great industry.
Absolutely. No, very, very great point. And some of the stats that you mentioned that we've got on the screen as well, it's fascinating, yeah? So how many jobs are there, the rate of unemployment. One thing that I just wanted to add to your points is their jobs and their people, but the quality of, people also is very important. And, the level of education that you have, the level of skills that you have are also important. The more skilled you are, the faster you can grow your career. So I have seen a lot of my students, over time. I had a couple of students, they started their career from zero. They had one of them was working in a car dealership. And then he started cybersecurity, but he was very passionate and was very sort of switched on. In a couple of years, I believe he's been in the industry for around 4 years now. He's a senior consultant. Yeah. In 4 years, and I'm sure you have seen that in the industry. Yeah. So, and the point is, when you try to sort of gain more skills, and the skills that is really required, hands-on skills, and that's how education sector is changing as well. And we will talk about our courses towards the end, but that's where our focus is, trying to sort of have better skills and things that are absolutely required to be successful in these jobs. That's perfect. So I guess the other question I've got for you is, considering that you have worked across, as I said, multiple sectors, and this is quite important, especially in the United States, that you have the private sector, you've got obviously vendor land that me and you come from, and government, yeah? So how do you see, what are the differences between these markets?
As a recruiter, as a technical recruiter, what I see is, again, I'm not going to talk about, I think James is the expert over here who's going to talk about maybe, FBI or CIA or any of those. I'll talk about the Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus the private sector. So one big difference is that the private sector is creating products, creating more jobs, and government turns into like a consumer. They're using the product. So with creating a new product also comes a whole bunch of new jobs. You don't always have to be a hacker. You don't always have to be a software developer. You could be a person who sells that product, a person who supports that product, a person who implements that product. So then all those functions create all those many jobs. Whereas a government is a consumer, and so they're using it. So the number of jobs between both private sector and government sector, there's a big difference. Again, private sector for a new graduate, like us, our audience probably is our students. It's easy to get into the private sector because of so many jobs, and the rules are not as rigid. Government has a whole process. How do you get in? Maybe you need security clearance, things like that. And so it's easier. And it's to get your foot in the door and then to grow from there. So that's the big difference that I see between private sector and the government sector.
Yeah, that's perfect. No, that's also, and the good point that you mentioned, James. Maybe we continue with you on this question, because I think most of your career has been in government, different areas of government. What are your points and your view on this?
Well, yeah, my entire career has been, at least professional career has been with the U.S. government and with the federal government specifically. I've never worked for state or local government, but what I found is that the foot in the door mentality definitely goes a long way in the federal government. If you can get into a position, it's a lot easier to lateral to other positions within the government, within the agency that you're in, or to other agencies. So even just getting a job in the government gives you some more insight into what are the positions are available. Some positions are only available if you already work for the government, while other positions are open to everyone, or there's a lot of positions that are open maybe for veterans. If you happen to be a veteran, getting a job with the federal government is a little bit easier because there are streamlined pathways to getting hired for some of the jobs that you want. And even if it's not necessarily the job that you want forever, sometimes taking a job gets you into the agency, and then you can lateral from there. So it's a lot like the private sector, I imagine, but with the federal government, once you're hired, your clock starts, and all of that time counts towards benefits and eventually when you retire someday. So, in terms of, getting a job in cybersecurity with the federal government, now is a really good time. As a matter of fact, I can speak for the Department of Homeland Security, which has many component agencies in it. Right now, DHS is hiring cybersecurity professionals. Where I work within Homeland Security investigations, I'm a special agent. That's a little more difficult position to obtain. It took me about 2 years to go through the entire hiring process to become a special agent. But for me, I was a special agent, but I was not in a technical position. And because I was already in the federal government, because I was already an agent, I was able to lateral into a computer forensic role, which is what I do now. So while I'm still a special agent, I do primarily child exploitation, digital forensics, as well as forensics for pretty much every other investigation that we're doing in the office at the time. So, I was able to go from a non-technical position. I did go back to college. I obtained a master's degree in cybersecurity with a concentration in digital forensics, and that allowed me to make that transition. So, when I went back to college to get my degree, I was 47. I know I don't look that old, but
you don't. No. I would have said 20 max. Yeah.
there was a little bit of a delay in there though. But no, I was later in life, later in a career. I've been with the federal government for 23 years now. So I had already been in the government for 20 years, and I was able to make that transition into a more technical role in the cybersecurity realm. And forensics definitely does fit within the cybersecurity framework. But like right now within DHS, they're looking for incident response professionals, risk assessment and risk management professionals, vulnerability detection, forensics, intelligence and investigation, software assurance, and network and systems engineering. So there's many different specialties that you can go into that all fit within cybersecurity. And while it's nice to be a jack of all trades, so to speak, even just focusing on one or two of those areas can open up a lot of opportunities for you within the federal government. And not even just being an actual employee of the federal government, as Sheetal had mentioned, uses a lot of contractors. So you may find yourself in a position where you can work as a contractor for a government agency, or maybe you could be the contractor for the government agency in providing some of those services. Not every government agency has an internal cybersecurity department, but every agency needs one. So, for the agencies that are smaller and don't have as large a budget as DHS has, they're still contracting those people out. So those opportunities are there. You do need to have a security clearance for the vast majority of positions within the federal government. So don't get arrested. St. Bonaventure is a good Catholic institution, so they generally have good people there. So if you're a student at St. Bonaventure, people will think that he or she must be a good person, so we're going to hire them. But you do need to have a security clearance. Also, just be mindful of that. And the process does take a little bit longer. So while in the private sector, you might be able to get hired within a few weeks, in the government sector, it might take, even with expedited hiring, several weeks, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, up to several months, depending on the security clearance that you need and the background investigation that you have to go through.
That's perfect. No, thank you so much for all of that insight. That was really great. I just wanted to touch on one of the points that you mentioned, and it's very important, actually, age. And I get that question all the time. Is it important? It's interesting, especially in cybersecurity space. We have seen a lot of people, because it's sort of relatively new space. It's been around for ages, but as I mentioned, with all this digital transformation and new technologies, there are new areas of cybersecurity opening up, new jobs. So I get that question a lot. Does it really matter how old I am? When can I start? But I can tell you, we've had in our program, as you know, James, you're teaching the same program. We have a lot of people in sort of mature, and they're already been mature in their career, and they've got jobs in IT or sometimes not related to IT, and they just want to move into IT and into cybersecurity. We have students of all ages. And they all have been successful, and they have got jobs. A lot of the students, they're already working in an institution, in an organization in a different position, and then they move into cybersecurity positions within the same organizations. So it's definitely not a blocker, and we have seen, just if anyone's, if that was questioning anyone's mind, we do have a lot of students in different ages, and we encourage everyone at any age to join the program, and not specifically our program, to learn about cybersecurity. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so Sheetal, I'll probably get back to you with one question. Some of the stuff that James covered that was really good for government. But generally speaking, if someone wants to break into cybersecurity, what is your advice? Like, how do you think they can do this? How they can overcome, at least to get an interview to start with,
So I'll address people who are taking classes right now. So if you are enrolled in a course like this, the best thing that you've ever done, it could be a certification program, it could be your master's or your bachelor's degree. What I would say is read as much as you can, attend as many webinars as you can, do as many internships as you can. Even a small 2-month experience on your resume will make you stand out better than somebody who does not have that, somebody who's working in a non-cybersecurity or, again, nothing wrong with working at a coffee shop, but you will definitely stand out if you have even like 2 months or 3 months experience as your internship during your college years. So try and accumulate as many years of experience as you can. I would say approach your college, go to your college cybersecurity department and ask them if you can do something, a small project for them, unpaid, paid, it doesn't matter, get something, some experience in your on your resume. This is during your college time. Even at that point, maybe even invite people, cybersecurity professionals, to come to your college and talk about them and have a full connection with them. Connect with them on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place to be. Connect with as many information security professionals as you can. Ask them for 15 minutes of their time. They will 9 out of 10 times will give it to you, unless you're like somebody like James who's not on LinkedIn and it's harder to find them. Most people would, especially in the private sector, they would be happy to talk to you, give you some kind of guidance, give you pointers. Connect with all your alumni who are in cybersecurity industry, your professors. Make a big, vast network. So by the time you are out of college, you already have these things lined up. If you are not doing a cybersecurity course, but you're doing something else, maybe you are doing software development, try to show what skills are transferable. Maybe you have attention to details. Try to show that, saying, I'm very keen, I can find issues very quickly. And that's a transferable skill into this industry, and try to sell that. Those will be the way I think, as a recruiter, I see between two resumes standing out. So whatever you can gather, whatever you can get certified. So whatever you can gather during your college times, that might be the best way to start or get a break.
Oh, that's great, Sheetal. It's actually very sort of invaluable having that insider view. When you look at resumes, how do you see the differences? Because on paper, a lot of resumes look very similar, yeah, but like those slight differences, probably make or break. Very good points. Thank you so much for that. I just want to add to that as you mentioned, courses, certification, those are very important. But I just want to know your idea. But like in my eyes as well, the formal education from a university counts a lot, because especially when you have an institute that has got a very high ranking, and you know that the courses that are taught, they're very up to date and they are sort of hands-on, and it gives you sort of an advantage because you've proven by passing those courses, by getting a good grade, in those courses, you can sort of fast track that process a lot as well. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I totally agree. Somebody who's got that basic foundation, strong foundation, definitely stands out more than somebody who does not.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Sheetal. All right. So I guess I'll move on to the next section. Another question that I get all the time, I'm just trying to address everything that everyone's asking me here and then discuss it with the panel, is what qualities employees are looking for. Some of it, Sheetal mentioned, the ones that you can see on the screen, continuous learning. This is very important, but a lot of these sort of factors are common with any sort of jobs that you get. Well, in cybersecurity, they become a little bit more important. And that's because of the nature of this, this market, because the market is evolving every single day. The new technologies, the new attacks, the things that you need to learn, and it's very, very hard to stay on top of this. So like someone was saying that in cybersecurity, whatever knowledge you have today, not the whole thing, but majority of the knowledge that you have today, in 3 years' time may not be relevant, because the technology is changing so fast. So some of those, qualities are very important. But just to be a little bit more granular, to give you something tangible that you can sort of measure yourself against, I've got my next question from James, back to James, that what skills, are required for someone if they want to transition into a cybersecurity role, and also to be successful. Because transitioning is one thing, being successful, being able to shine, that's very important as well. So how do you see that, James?
Well, I can go based on my own experience, having done this very thing. When I had decided, I've always been somewhat of a technical person. I've always had computers. I remember way back to my first Commodore 64. So that's how far back my computer skills go. But, when I had decided, hey, I think I want to try to get into this digital forensic space, the cybersecurity space, I had to rely on some of the skills like you had just mentioned that were on that other slide. You do have to be willing to put in some hard work. For me, the last time I was in college was in 1994 when I graduated from St. Bonaventure. And, the next time I was in college was in 2015. So there was quite a gap there in having to do homework and having to do research and relearn some of the skills that I used to have. But I had to have that willingness to work hard, and you have to maintain that willingness because in cybersecurity and digital forensics, certainly things change so frequently. You have to have that willingness to continually learn, to continually read new articles, and to continually do research, because not only to keep abreast of the current trends in forensics or cybersecurity, but even on a day-to-day basis, we might get a device in the office that none of us have ever seen before, and we have to figure out, what is this? How do I get the information off of it, and what do I do with it once I've gotten the information off of it? So it's a continual learning experience. It's continually having that desire to do research and to actually like doing it. So it's not a job that you can, okay, I've got the job, now I can sit and do nothing. Okay, it's something that you have to have that willingness and that desire and that interest to continually work hard and to continually learn. You have to be persistent as well. It did take me 3 years to move into the position that I currently have because I did go back to school. It took me 2 years to complete my master's degree. And I also did some extra collateral duties that were forensic oriented in order to position myself to be able to get the role that I currently have. So that persistence certainly paid off in that, I was able to transition from being, I won't say a regular agent, but just from doing casework to doing casework, but also doing digital forensics. And one of the other reasons why I kind of wanted to make this transition was because I am looking towards the future of what I'll be doing when I'm not an agent anymore. And, cybersecurity, digital forensics is a role that once you get into it, you can evolve even further into those different positions. You don't have to just stay into one specific position in cybersecurity. It gives you a lot of other opportunities if you are willing to put in a little bit extra work and to gain that knowledge and to also have the confidence to know that you can do it. And I think that's where having that education kind of helps to back up your resume, right? So you have the skills from maybe some certifications you've gotten, you have the knowledge from your experience, but you also have that education that shows, hey, I can start something and I can finish it. And here are the credentials that I have that show that, and it gives you that confidence to continue looking for other avenues to be successful and to increase your success in the field.
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you so much, James, for that. I think that was a good segue talking about transitioning, moving from a position that you had to another position. So I guess now I'm going to sort of transition to Melvin, which he's been through this journey. He was a developer and then he moved and became a cybersecurity professional, which was a very interesting story when we were chatting. So I just wanted to ask Melvin to kindly join us to the panel and sort of share that experience with everyone else. So Melvin, can you just walk us through how was your journey? How did you do? Where were you? Where are you now? And how did you go through this transition?
Yeah, I can definitely. I appreciate you allowing me to speak on this. This is actually pretty passionate for me because it took a long time to move from being a straight developer into doing what I do now. I think everyone on the panel has made some outstanding points about how long it can take and the things that you would have to do to get there. The first thing that I personally had to figure out is what I wanted to be in cybersecurity. A lot of times you look at TV and people go, oh, there's hackers or oh, this and that, but it's not just that. It's a lot more. It's very detailed. I think to put in a great perspective of saying all the different positions that are out there. And James really hit home on the fact of all the skills that are needed, right? And looking at that and saying, what do I want to be? Understanding that was the most difficult thing at first. And once you figure it out, that's when you can now start to put your path together. I had to figure out, do I want to be an exploit writer because I could write code, right? Do I want to look at network packets? Do I want to do that? And the first way that you figure that out is being exposed to that one way or another. I think a point was made earlier on I think you did that, Puya, as well, about the certifications and things of that nature, of going to your local university and finding out and taking classes and things of that nature. St. Bonaventure so far has been really good for me in that, right, in understanding. And I know how another person who doesn't have the same skill sets that I have could actually benefit from something like that. I went to another university and I took a certification on information insurance, and they exposed me to taking Security Plus and my CH. Those are great things. You have to be exposed to those things, and you need to figure out, because the one thing you don't want to do is say, I want to be a hacker. Okay, you get to a point and you learn all these penetration testing tool sets and all that, and you don't like it. That's the worst feeling. So that would be my first thing. And when I figured out what I really wanted to be, it was an easier transition. Now, it wasn't a direct one. So what I ended up doing was I was recruited by SAIC to become a developer for them at that time. And I would say I started writing applications for the analysts, which didn't seem kind of cool in the beginning because it's like, oh, I want to do what you guys do. But it helped me because as smart as you think you are, there's a breadth of knowledge that you just don't have. It's not there unless you are working in there. Because I could write code all day, but I've never wrote an exploit before, right? When I first came there. It's a total different mindset, right? So I wrote a bunch of what we call common object pictures or COP tools for analysts of ingesting a bunch of data here and there and understanding what they were looking for, why they were looking for it, and developing those skills alongside of going to school and gaining those skill sets there. So I've studied and I've taken SANS classes. I've studied forensics, things of that nature. And eventually it led me to get my first job in cyber as a mobile device forensic person. So what we were doing on that contract was actually pretty cool because we take apart cell phones and understand how they worked from a cyber perspective and vulnerabilities and things of that nature. And you start pretty high and you start to work your way lower and lower into the weeds, which is actually pretty cool. So it led to me now being a full-fledged vulnerability analyst where I can be dropped into an environment and figure out what the problem is. If there's attack, discover what the attack is using my forensic skills, reverse engineer anything that needs to be reverse engineered if we have to. And also now be able to put defensive together because I understand both offensive and defensive strategies. And that's really what, when you start to look and say, are you going to be a jack of all trades? No, but you're going to gain a lot of those things by each step that you're doing. It's something as simple as learning where in the registry to find where auto run is, right? Well, and from a forensic perspective, will now lead you to being able to know when you go on in your incident response, which you spoke about before, what are some of the first common things that I look for? What are the tool sets that I should start to use? Those are really important. And once you develop that skill set, and you talked about transitioning to different ones, right? Your first job may not be you hunting a hacker in the way that you think it would be, but it may be you reviewing logs and understanding what these protocols look like when they're over the wire. And those are really important, right? So when you go through your first Wireshark class and you're typing in what TCP this and all that stuff, right? And learning what your ports and protocols are, it may seem very trivial in the beginning, but it's something that you really need. Like, I don't even look those things up anymore. I'll just look at it and be like, okay, I can tell. I can tell what layer 3 tunneling, layer 2 tunneling looks like in a Wireshark capture. I know what malware looks like when it sits in memory and it actually starts to beacon back to a C2, right? I know what those things are. I know how to look in memory and then reverse engineer how actually an EXE will be hidden inside a memory space that you would never know, right? Those are the things that you start to develop in there. So for me, when I'm looking at people and hiring people at my job, I actually do the interviewing and stuff as well with my organization. You talked about the skills that you mentioned, and I think James even hit home on this as well, of being diligent. I ask 2 questions to people, and there's no really wrong answer unless you don't answer them. The first question is, where are you going to be in 5 years? And the next one is, what do you do to stay current in the industry? Right? You could tell me I read ARS Technica, I go on GitHub and read all those things. Those things are important to me, right, for when I'm hiring. But if you tell me I don't know, I don't do anything, then that's where you start to lose me when you sit across the table from me, because I want to help you out. I want to help you get there. And if you don't have the skills, I'm happily to tell you the things that you need to do and why you should do them and lay them out. I've done this in the past. So that's kind of my story and that transition in that.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating, Melvin. It's very interesting. A couple of things that you mentioned, I just want to reiterate. One was the skills. First of all, sorry, like different sort of jobs that Sheath also talk about, talked about the fact that there are different levels of jobs. Someone's going out there and just installing tools and configuring tools, and that's it. Someone may be on the offensive side of things, or red teaming. Someone might be on the defensive side of things, or blue teaming, or that sort of services. So there are all this spectrum of jobs that might be there, and you just have to gauge, your interest and see where you fit. As you mentioned, like you had that tendency to go towards initially probably more around the development side of things, and then got into the attacking side of things as well. But then, which is very important and very sort of good to understand that there is this range of jobs. You don't really have to settle on one, and then you can change as well. And as you mentioned, you can change from like defensive to offensive or whatever. But what the other thing that you mentioned, you're talking about Wireshark and all those basic things. One thing that is very important, and in my experience in the field, I've noticed coming across different professionals in cybersecurity is when you're dealing with people, the more fundamental skills they have, the more confident and the better they are. That means they're coming through ranks, coming through ranks. They've done it all, they know all the low levels, and then eventually get to the point that, like yourself, you look at it and So you don't really have to do a lot of, or you look at a packet capture and you just immediately can spot. But for someone that probably is not there yet, it may take more time. But what's important is learning all those fundamental skills. And when, this Master of Cybersecurity program in Bonaventure, when Dr. Hussain was sort of creating this program originally, and we were talking about it, one of the original intentions of the program was making sure all of those foundations are covered properly. So students learn, and you have been in the program and you know what I'm talking about exactly. And then we're going to go to Marcus and talk about the program more in detail. But every single course, the courses that James is teaching, the courses that I teach, and other professors in the university, every single of us, we try to make sure that those foundations are covered. And you've got enough good hands-on experience. So when you go to work, you can actually put them into practice. So that brings me to the next question for you, which is obviously going through the program. You're not an amateur. You're not trying to get into cybersecurity. You're already working in this space. So how does this program is helping you? Because it's interesting. We talked a lot about how someone entering this market, how can we help? Well, what about someone accomplished like yourself? How does it help you?
Right. So for me, I'm really big on planning and goals and things of that nature. So when I mentor someone, we actually establish what that plan is, and then I do something called reverse engineering your goals to actually set a pathway to what you want to do. When I did that for my own self, it was, what do I want to do to now become? I want to do more leadership. I want to be in a C-type role, right? I want to be CTO, CSO, things of that nature. So what are the things that I need to accomplish? One, I knew I needed to develop more of my soft skills, right? And I think formal education actually does help in that area, right? Of saying, hey, a lot of times when you're really technical, and I've caught myself, you're full-fledged, just right in the middle of it. Everything is technical, but you have to understand that someone probably doesn't understand what the heck you're talking about, right? There are times when I'm speaking and you start talking and you're like, oh my God, what is this? And like, I don't know what you're talking about. So you need to learn how to take that take those skills and be able to converse it from down to your low-level analyst to your CTO, right? And that's kind of some of the things that we're starting to learn how to do in that aspect. Also, I need the masters to compete in that area. Right, and you're not going to get calls for jobs at these C-level type organizations without the years of experience and the degrees that show that you have the discipline to complete things. So that's really what it is for me. And I'm going to learn things, right? You're always learning. The one thing you can never stop doing, and I think James really hit that on the head, was you can't stop learning in this industry, especially things change every day. I mean, I learned something new today when I was actually working. I didn't think you could do something today. Right, and some hacker taught me that you can do something today. So I now have to go back and understand that and like, why did this person do this? And what else can I learn from this, right? Because now that person is giving me a blueprint to learn something new. What else could be done with this type of knowledge that I know?
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much for that feedback. Yeah, 2 points that you raised, really important. One, I'll start with the last one that you mentioned. Like we talked, throughout the session about the fact that technology is always changing. Yeah, and it's so changing so fast that when we develop courses, every single semester we have to go back and we have to refresh courses. And that's how fast it's changing. So Katie is from KeyPath, so we work with KeyPath Education to sort of develop courses. And every single semester and every single sort of release of the course, we have to go back and change it. That's how fast it's changing. That's one aspect. The other thing that you touched on is very, very important, soft skills. Very important. Like I myself, I had to learn this, like, because I was very technical as well. Like I had the technical blinkers on and I had to sort of learn. So one thing that we do in our courses, which is interesting, we've got a lot of collaboration. This is an online program, so you don't have the chance of hanging out with people, like on campus and talk to people and share that experience. So that collaboration becomes very important. And how we do that, and you know that because you're doing the courses, is through our discussion boards, like the discussions that we have every week, and different points of view. And learning how to deal with them, with that, learning how to respond. Sometimes we have to record videos. For some of our assignments, we have to record videos. It's challenging for some people. It's challenging, yeah, because they've never been recorded before. But we develop in those skills, so it's not only purely technical. We also, care about that soft skills part, being confident to be able to present. Sheetal can tell you, we work in vendor land. It's extremely important, but not only there, like in any sort of industry that you work, it's very important. Thank you so much for that view. With that, I just wanted to give 2 references for everyone to go and have a look. We talked a lot about the career, about the skills. 2 links that will be in the recording. You can go to those pages. One is basically from uscert.gov. So this is an interactive tool. You can go and see all of these different positions. You can choose one, and then it can tell you from what positions you can sort of transition into this particular cybersecurity role, and where you can go from there. And it's sort of been categorized in different areas. That's a really interesting one. I encourage everyone to go and have a look. The other one is from cybersec.org. So these are all publicly available websites, yeah? So this one is also very interesting. Like you select any of those sort of jobs at different levels, and it tells you what sort of skills you need, from networking, from software development, engineering, forensics, any of those sort of skills. And then you will see what combination of those skills you need to have for those jobs. At the top, I don't have a screenshot, but there's an interactive map. That interactive map can show different states of the United States, and then you can see what sort of jobs are there, what are the average salaries of those cybersecurity jobs there in those states, which is I found it very interesting to have a look, because it's very hard to sort of find those information online. All right, so with that, we talked a lot about, our program. Obviously, I'm focused on the master's program and the graduate certificate program that we have, but we do have a bachelor's program as well. Just to give you a good overview of the whole program and what do we offer, I just wanted to ask Marcus, who is from an admissions team and is an expert in this area. So I'll hand it over to you, Marcus, to talk about the university itself and also the programs. And then after that, we're going to go and to Q&A. We've got a bunch of questions and we're going to talk about them. Over to you, Marcus.
Excellent. Thank you, Puya. I think talking about the university itself is very important. Obviously, this is an online program, but I think having a physical institution behind it is highly important. As you can see here, just recently we were ranked number 6 in the North in best value schools by the U.S. News and World Report. I think that speaks highly of our combination of tuition and also our curriculum. especially with the program like this, it's important you understand what you're signing up for. A lot of degrees carry the same designation, right? Master of Science in Cybersecurity, but their goals could be different in terms of, what they're looking to focus on. As Puya mentioned, we're very much focused on technology, on the technical aspects, improving, your hands-on, ability. Other programs might focus more on governance, compliance. So that's definitely something you want to make sure that, your program that you're looking for, has what you want in it. Our faculty, as you can see, very diverse. All of them are active professionals, in the field. I think that's important. As they mentioned, networking opportunities and things of that nature stand out very highly in this field. So, make sure you enroll in our program, you're establishing those connections with your professors, with the faculty. They also brought up certifications. Absolutely. Staying current in this field is key. So that's not something we overlooked as a program as well. And I highly advise any student who enrolls in our program to take advantage of discounts and benefits we offer through a few different entities, whether it's the Cisco Academy, the Electronic Commerce Council, or CompTIA as well. We also have a research center here on campus dedicated to cybersecurity. It's the Western New York Cybersecurity Research Center. It's where our faculty work on active projects. We also have a student-ran security operations center there that works directly with the state of New York to provide 24/7 monitoring and defense to some of their networks.
And one thing I'd actually like to add to that is, it's not on your slide, but before COVID disrupted everything, I've also been working on a regional forensic lab that the local law enforcement agencies are partnering together to provide forensic services to the local agencies, but also there'll be slots for St. Bonaventure students within that forensic lab as well.
Excellent, excellent. Now,
That's great.
Getting into our two offerings.
Sure.
No, I'm sorry, Puya, go ahead.
No, but I was just going to ask if you can talk about the two offerings. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries at all. Obviously, we offer a Master of Science in Cybersecurity. It can be completed in as little as 30 credit hours. Now, what makes our program, I think, very unique is the sense that we have the graduate certificate option as well. For someone who maybe is intimidated in getting into the field and looking at master's programs maybe is a little too daunting based on maybe their lack of skills in the area, we have this graduate certificate option to really bring you up to speed. I think it's one of the things that makes our offerings very much stand out. In terms of the master's program, it can be completed in as little as 18 months' time. For the graduate certificate, about 8 months. Both very much, can help you break into the industry. Obviously, a master's degree can help you in a few other key areas like prepping for senior roles, executive level roles, as Melvin mentioned. But they both serve a purpose, whether you're looking to break into the field or really hone your skills for potential promotions. We have an avenue for you as a student looking to get into cybersecurity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Marcus. I guess that was that. Do you want to talk about the admission process as well, if anyone was interested?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, for any student who's interested in our programs, your next step is to complete an admissions interview with either myself, one of my colleagues as well, whether it's Munaf or Elizabeth. We're all very knowledgeable in what our program has to offer. In terms of admissions requirements, first and foremost, you'll need to submit an application. You would also need to ensure you have a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution. Or likewise, depending on which program you're looking to target, computer science experience as well, whether that's through a previous degree or work experience. A police clearance is also required. As Professor Donahue mentioned, in this field, we want to ensure, we're teaching the skills to the right people who are honest, ethically sound. Morals are correct, obviously. So with that being said, we do require that police clearance. And then there's no GRE or GMAT exam required for admissions. If you're not familiar, that's a business exam you would have to take that can be required by some schools, which it's not for this program in particular.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you so much, Marcus, on that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, so I guess we covered everything that we wanted to talk about. Katie, do you want to go through the questions Q&A section for us? Thank you.
Absolutely. So we've already received a number of great questions. We'll try to get through at least a few of these here. I know we're running close to the end of the hour. If we don't get to your question today, we'll certainly follow up after the webinar. And then if you have any questions that you haven't sent in, still please feel free to continue to use the Q&A box below on your screen. So first question here, this question asks, how is the job market for entry-level positions for career changers? I would be coming specifically from marketing and looking to enter the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sheetal talked about it sort of extensively about the entry level. So obviously the skills that are required. So first of all, someone may be interested in cybersecurity marketing. There are plenty of positions there. As Sheetal mentioned, it's a growing industry. You may be interested to focus on that space because then you need to be able to understand cybersecurity to be able to do marketing for cybersecurity. And then there are avenues into sales. Actually, Sheetal, maybe do you want to talk about that shortly?
Yeah, sure. So when we look at entry-level positions with maybe like no experience at all, we have internships. If you have the ability to do an internship, do it. Within CyberArk too, we have internships. I'm sure there are many other companies that offer it. Like Poya said, marketing plus security marketing is a great option. Sales is a great option. You can definitely try that. You might have to start at a very entry level and then work your way up. So that's always an option. But getting, like I think in the beginning I said, getting your foot in the door. Get it in there, especially a private sector, will let you explore. Within a year and a half of doing your role, working in a current position, they will let you explore and go into a different department or a different function and try your hand there as well.
Awesome, thank you. Katie, what's the next question?
The next question is, how soon can we qualify for a cybersecurity job? This person is currently a graduate student in the program and has successfully completed the first 3 foundation courses already.
Awesome. Yeah, look, there's so many variables here. Yeah. So when you finish your program, obviously when you finish the program, it's much easier to go through a job interview, but nothing stops you from applying. Nothing stops you from applying that knowledge in the interview. We had a couple of actually the last couple of semesters, we had students that they were already studying with us and they already had jobs. So they went to the job interviews. It's actually interesting that interesting story. One of our students in our secure software design course, we were talking about secure software design, and Melvin is in the same course as well, knows. And at the same time, a position opened up in their organization around software security. Yeah, and then he could go and he could talk about it. He could even, talk about the direction of that particular practice. So he got the job. And this particular example was a couple of semesters ago. We had a couple of people in our current course we just finished that Melvin was part of. They got jobs, and I think one of our students who got a job also asked the question here on the panel. And so there's nothing stopping you from getting jobs as you're going through the program. But obviously, when you finish your program, there are more chances.
Great. Our next question asks, let's see, this one says, I gained Linux experience from my ethical hacking course and interviewed very well for a technical support engineer position from a secure software design course in the program. How can I navigate to a cybersecurity role within an organization?
Yes, yeah. All right, so the person who's asking the question is one of our students, which I know. So all he needs to do is essentially learning more and more about cybersecurity, because these skills are all sort of interrelated. Yeah, so you've got very good Linux foundation, which is great and will help you a lot. All you need to do is just need to add all the other skills, which is networking, cryptography, enterprise security, application security, which in the courses that we offer, all of that is sort of offered. Just adding those up, and then I think Melvin was talking about the fact that you are working in a particular line of work, but then you can express interest, and then you can just go a little bit further, and then incorporate security into your day-to-day job. And that's how you sort of move from one position to another, and eventually into cybersecurity. It happened for myself as well. I mean, I started as a support engineer for an ERP system, yeah, and then gradually moved into networking and security. So it's just wherever your interest is in, and the more you learn, and then you can sort of move.
Great, Thanks, Pooya. Our next question asks, when hiring, how important are cybersecurity certifications or certificates? I don't know, maybe Sheethal for this one.
Sure. They are important, especially if you are a recent grad and you've got one of these certifications. It catches my attention, which then I do go back and tell the hiring manager, hey, look at all the certifications they've got. It just goes to show that you've taken that extra step, gone that extra mile to learn something more than just your your schoolwork. And getting a certification also shows that you've learned or qualified a little bit more than maybe 3 other resumes that I'm looking at which don't have certification. So yes, definitely work on it, learn it, and get it. It really helps take you one step in comparison to your classmates.
One thing I could probably add to that also is that when you're looking for jobs, at least in the federal government, a lot of cybersecurity positions or a lot of computer-oriented positions require some basic certifications like CompTIA A+. Right? So if you don't know where to start, get the A+ certification, because there are a lot of jobs that require that as part of the position.
Very good. Thank you. Our next question is from someone who's intending to enroll in the master's program in the fall. This person asks if you have any suggestions or recommendations for books or resources that they might look into in the meantime.
Yeah, I guess the main thing that the main skill that a lot of students are lacking when they come into the program is just a little bit of programming skill. So something like Python that is easy to learn. That's probably something that's very useful, and you will see across multiple courses those programming skills are required, because eventually, if I want to explain why, eventually everything is software. Although we talk about security, but everything at the end of the day is software. That's why we need a little bit of programming to be able to apply those security knowledge. So that's the area that a lot of students, need to work on before they get into the program. Everything else from a security point of view is fully covered in our courses. So we typically, all the courses are designed to cover all the bases in the first couple of weeks. So all the foundational knowledge, and as you progress to the later weeks, we just go to those advanced topics in that space. So yeah, programming, specifically Python, I reckon is something that is very, very useful.
Very good. All right, I know that we are a few minutes past here, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up our Q&A session. I think we were able to get to most of the questions, but if we did miss your question, we will respond to you directly after the webinar. We want to go ahead and thank all of you for joining, and especially our speaker panel. So thank you, Pooya, Sheethal, James, Melvin, and Marcos, so much for being here and sharing all of your experiences. If you've registered for this webinar, you'll receive, of course, the recording tomorrow. And please feel free to reach out directly to an enrollment advisor if you're interested in learning more about the programs. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye.
Night.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.